I am delighted tonight to welcome you here to the 4,000th Chamber of Commerce, at least 2017 roast. My name is Marjorie Ann Marie O'Neill Clapprood Spinazzola. Enough, right? And I'm thrilled to be here. I hope you're just as thrilled as I am. And I'm delighted to have you ready for a great night. We're going to have a terrific night. How could we not have a great night? How could we not have a great night? Oh, so sweet. Mommy, I told you not to come in till after. How could you not be excited to be here tonight when we are going to honor, seriously, someone who truly has an outstanding combination of talent, skills, someone who is amazingly bright, accomplished, has done extraordinary things, and someone, frankly, who's incredibly good-looking and a little sexy. But enough about me. Let's talk about Roy. Oy vey, we're going to talk about Roy Cohen. That's why you're here tonight, right? You either love him, right? You either love him or you don't. The roaster's up here, we're not so sure. But I was just talking with Terry. Things in your rearview mirror are not as obnoxious as they may seem, so ignore this person who keeps walking back and forth. But so the question that I was just talking to Terry Schneider, Terry, who's our beloved executive director. Let's give him a hand. Love you, Terry. And I just said to him, how long have you been doing the roast for the Chamber of Commerce? And he did say, for 70, 80 years. So when you ask, why are we roasting Roy tonight, honoring and roasting Roy, I mean, the big answer is they just ran out of people. I mean, everybody here has been honored, right? Am I right? Or you've been roasted. So, A, it's Roy's turn. B, everybody's got a story about Roy Cohen, right? You all have a story about Roy? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. More than one. I first met Roy. I have too many stories, so I'm going to let the roasters tell the stories. But here's my first memory of Roy. I came to this beautiful hall, and I met so many of you, and I had the temerity to be running. I was actually a young woman at the time. I just had someone say to me coming out of the ladies' room, didn't you used to be Marjorie Clapprood? Yes, and I still am. I'm so proud to stand tall and say I am. But I was here, candidates night, everybody's holding signs. There were at least 9 or 10 of us running for state representative. And everybody was standing outside holding signs, right? It's a great political town. Stoughton's a great, right? Holding signs. So the signs that year, way back then, it was Dukakis, right? Holding signs for Kennedy, holding signs for Barney Frank, holding signs for Crimmins. I don't know who that guy is, but anyway, there he was. And everybody came in with all of their signs, groups and groups and groups. And there was just one lone guy standing out there all by himself with one sign. And so I said, who is that guy? And they said, I don't know. So I went out and I said, who are you? And he said, I'm Roy Cohen. And I said, well, his sign just said, hi, it's me. And I said, well, what are you running for? And he said, anything. And I thought, this is a perfect beginning to the relationship because that's what he did, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was 30 years ago. And he's run for just about everything. And so before I introduce the roasters, I did want to tell you some of the important achievements that you may not know about that Roy has accomplished. And I asked him to give me a list, and he did. And it's really quite extensive. So he was selectman 3 times, voted chairman twice, a member of the Norfolk County Advisory Board, the Water Study Commission, the Industrial Development Commission, the Merchant Association, the occasional caller ATC bingo. That's a biggie. Stoughton Democratic, yay, Town Committee. Sharon Democratic Town Committee, did not know that, so that's pretty cool. Occasional caller at bingo. Least likely to get a date for the prom in high school. Member and director of Oasis. Oh my Lord, producer, director, and sometimes host of the Community Forum. Past member of the Board of Directors. JC, past president of the Police Square Club.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. And on and on, and on and on. So he said if you wanted to sign this, you're welcome to come. And the last one had something to do with making the best fart noises when he was in nursery school. So I think that's the one that he's most proud of, which I think is very touching. I also have a couple of announcements to make. It won't be long.
I'll wait, hurry up, I gotta pee.
I do want to say, everybody here in this room, I do want to say something serious. This really is an event that takes an awful lot of planning. And so, way over 6 months ago, Cindy Pizzara has been the chairperson. She's been doing everything. She's been calling all of you, right? She's emailed, she's pulled everything together. She had a little mishap today. Most of you probably know this, but if you don't, the reason that she's not here is that she's in the hospital getting better. And we want to all send very, very high spiritual, karmic, whatever your religion, send a couple of prayers there for Cindy. She rocks. So put your hands together. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. And to get us started, now don't forget, not only here to embarrass Rory Cohen, but to raise some money for the Friends of the Military Foundation. And so one of our dear friends, who we all know, who has served our country so honorably, and who not only is a sergeant major, but more importantly, he's the one that takes care of all the families and the friends of the foundation. So please help me welcome Jimmy Kelly.
Thank you. Yep. I want to thank you all for coming tonight, because tonight's not only about the roast here, but it's about the contributions that you're making. And the money for this is going to the Military Friends Foundation. I put this on your desk, on your table, so that you'll get a little idea of what we do. But what we are is we're a military organization that started to give money to Guard and Reserve soldiers when they deploy to the nation's current wars. Some soldiers would leave and they'd be police officers, firefighters, or whatever, and they would lose money. And we come up with a way to be able to enhance the money that they were losing from their current deployment. And then naturally people got hurt, wounded, killed, and we expanded the program. So what we do is a few years ago, about 10 years ago, maybe more, 12 years ago, we got on the Massachusetts income tax. So on block 32E in the Massachusetts income tax, citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts contribute right on the income tax, and that money goes to the Military Friends Foundation, called on the taxes Military Relief. The citizens give us about $300,000 or $400,000 a year, and that money all goes out almost every year, anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 a year, to soldiers that are wounded in action. If they're a young soldier, you see in the news a young soldier, Marine, sailor gets killed, maybe 3 or 4 people are wounded, 70-80% of their body. Military will pay the wife to get them to a hospital, but it won't pay for a mother. Well, we can pay for the mother. We can pay for the 4 or 5 trips, and we can do that. When a soldier deploys, they come back and they need something, or if they leave and there's a cost that's incurred, they can go to do this grant online, and we give them the money and they don't have to pay it back. We do all kinds of great things. It's one of the few boards or military organizations in the state that I know of where all the money, about 90% of it goes. There's an operational cost, but 90%, all the people on my board are volunteers. We put in a good 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week to make sure that the citizen soldiers of Massachusetts and the fallen heroes from all wars are taken care of. We did the Run for the Fallen around here. You've probably just seen those signs in September. We had them all over Stoughton, and we had a lot of people from Stoughton come over to Dedham and did that run for us. And that's something that's free. It doesn't cost anything. You just come, and we usually have about 200 fallen soldiers from Massachusetts families there, standing beside and behind all the signs. It's really a dinner for them, but we do a run around that. So the point is that the money that we get goes to where it's supposed to go, and that's something that you can be proud of, that we have a board of people that volunteer, collect this money, and put it in the pockets of our servicemen and women that need the money. Some of the things on the flyer here just shows some of the things that we do. A lot of the things that we do on this flyer, like toy drives, we drive toy drives for soldiers that are deployed. Their children come to 4 places throughout the state. We give them toys. We give cards for them to send to packages and money and gifts to the soldiers that are deployed. We do You'll see the Tough Ruck. That's the only fundraiser that I really do. You do 26 miles, 285 yards with a run. We usually raise $300,000 from that, and we're able to take care of some other veterans with that that's not in the legislation. So it's just an organization. I want you to know you're here tonight. You're paying tribute to a great, great person, a statesman, and you're also raising funds for citizen soldiers in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And for that, I am most grateful. So on behalf of the board of the Military Friends Foundation, I want to thank you for coming out here and honoring and contributing to our great cause. Thank you very much.
Nicely done. Nicely done. See, now, don't you feel better already? What he didn't say, but he slipped me a note to say, and if you really feel excited about it, you can always take out another check and write it out to the Friends of the Military, or use your credit card. They take just about everything.
I was wounded.
Okay, I'll bite. I don't know where to go with this guy. I don't. I think I might have dated him once in high school. I'm a little embarrassed. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, somebody called security, Roy is saying. Terry also asked me to tell you 50-50 raffle. Did you get your raffle tickets? Oh, Terry. Come on, you're sleeping on the job, babe.
We need someone that wants to go out and sell them.
We need someone to go sell them? Yes. That would be helpful.
Yes. Volunteer, anybody?
Oh, Sharon Fradkin. Let's hand it to Sharon. Married to Steve, donated some of the goodies tonight. Anyway, you could also come up here and you could buy 50-50, you know, the winner gets to keep 50 and the rest of the 50% goes to the Friends of the Military Foundation, so how can you lose? Okay, also, in addition to Carol Cohen, the Fradkins, Panera Cafe and Catering, Dunkin' Donuts, and Joanne Schneider, who's here as well, Cindy and the Stop and Shop, we want to thank Tito's Cakes. Yay, are you here in the room? Looks pretty yummy, thank you. We want to also thank the Fradkins, Steve and Sharon, the wizards of ads, for the Penny Saver ad. Thank you to the Penny Saver. Thank you to the VFW. I understand it was a great rate. I think they paid us to come? What? And David, who's running?
The sound.
Oh, the sound, yeah. What, did he get us the great rate?
He donated his services.
And David donated his services tonight from cable. Yay for the sound, yay. Yay. Also, prep and setup, so Stoughton Media Access, got it. Filming, hosting, got it. And I think we got it. If there's anybody that I forgot, please let me know. Otherwise, on with the show. So tonight's first roaster, I've just talked about 2 or 3 times. He is the wizard of ads. He's lived in Stoughton, I think, his whole life. What?
Last time you checked.
Last time you checked, your whole life, though, right? No? Well, then you can talk about it. But everybody knows the Fradkins, and everybody knows he worked on my campaign. Any campaign that won, actually, he worked on. Some of the others, don't blame him for some of the goobers that are in office. It's not Steve's fault. But he's a great guy, and he's the reason why Roy got elected the 1st, the 2nd, and the 15th time to the Board of Selectmen. Please welcome Stevie Fradkin.
Take your time. Because I still have to pee, I'm trying to walk the dog. Don't worry.
Could we have a big hand for Norm Katz?
He's coming up. He's coming up.
Roy Cohen, where is he? There he is.
Oh, here.
There he is.
Here we go.
Roy Cohen knows everybody. Yeah, I don't know how many of you actually know Roy personally, but he knows every time we go to a restaurant, we have a running contest between us as to who knows more people in the restaurant, and he usually wins. There was a time back when Roy had a business in the center of town where he was standing out in front of his business, and he saw a guy he didn't know. He figured, I got to get to know this guy because, after all, I'm Roy Cohen and I know everybody. And so he walks up and introduces himself, and the man says to him, "My good man," he says, "my name is Brown, B-R-O-W-N. Very impressive. He says, "I live on Beacon Hill. My father lived on Beacon Hill, and his father lived on Beacon Hill." He says, "And I'm a Republican. My father was a Republican, and his father was a Republican." He says, "And I'm a WASP. You all know what a WASP is?" He says, "And my father was a WASP, and his father was a WASP as well." And then he says, "And I'm white from the top of my head to the tip of my toes. I'm white." Roy steps back a second, looks up at this guy's 6'4" frame. He says, "My name is Cohen, C-O-H-E-N. He says, "My father was a Cohen, and his father was a Cohen as well." He says, "And I live in Stoughton." He says, "My father lived in Stoughton, and his father lived in Stoughton." I'm not sure that's true, but
Sounds good.
it works for the joke.
It works for the story.
Yeah, it works for the joke. He says, "And I'm a Democrat, and my father was a Democrat, and his father was a Democrat as well." And Roy says, "I'm a Jew. My father was a Jew, and his father was a Jew as well." And he finally says, "And I too am also white, from the top of my head to the tip of my toes, except for my butthole, which is brown, B-R-O-W-N. I've known Roy since he worked for Kimberly-Clark, and at Kimberly-Clark he sold Kotex sanitary napkins. Y'all remember sanitary napkins? They're like antiques. You might call them, get ready for this, you might call them period pieces. Oh, that deserved an awe. Give me a good awe. Oh. Roy was in the printing business. He went into the business shortly after we met. And, it takes a lot of guts to go into business for yourself, especially in Stoughton Center. But Roy doesn't know the meaning of the word problem. Roy doesn't know the meaning of the word failure. Roy doesn't know the meaning of the word deadline. There was a guy back when Roy was in the printing business, he found a claim ticket in a 5-year-old jacket. The claim ticket said RMC Printing. And he said to himself, "I wonder if they're still open," first of all. He went down to Washington Street, and sure enough, RMC Printing is still there. Carol was greeting customers, and he brought the claim ticket into RMC Printing, hands him the claim ticket, 5-year-old claim ticket. And Roy looks at it, he says, "It'll be ready Tuesday." Roy, of course, is a musician, as you all know. He's a singer, and you'll see him sing in a little while. You know Roy is at your door because, like most singers, he can't find the key, and he doesn't know when to come in. But he wanted to be a musician when he grew up. He told his mother says to him, "Roy, you can't be both. You either grow up or be a musician." His fingers on the guitar are like lightning. They rarely strike in the same place twice. And Roy, of course, as most of you, Roy spent, 9 years in Aruba? 10 years? 9 years in Aruba. He was the only person I knew who lived in Aruba and vacationed in Stoughton. And Roy's career in politics, as Margie alluded to, is legendary, of course. He'll never make it to Mount Rushmore because they don't have room for two faces. Some guy tried to rob him while he was a selectman. He sticks his gun in his rib, says, "Give me all your money." Roy says, "You can't do this. I'm a selectman." And the guy says, "Oh, in that case, give me all my money." So today's selectmen are different, though. Today, if you call a roll at the Board of Selectmen, if you call the roll at the Board of Selectmen, they don't know whether to answer present or not guilty. Driving a livery vehicle is kind of like RMC printing. Roy spends most of his time driving away customers. A nun got into his livery one day, and Roy says he always wanted to kiss a nun. Wanted to find out what it was like to kiss a nun. So she says, "Well, I insist on two things. I'll be glad to kiss you, but I'll get two things. One, you got to be single, and two, you got to be Catholic." Gives him the greatest kiss he ever had. Just a wonderful, schmaltzy kiss. Roy starts crying. She says, "Why are you crying?" She says, "I've got to confess. I'm married, and I'm Jewish." The nun says, "Well, my name is Kevin, and I'm on the way to a Halloween party." But I just want to say one thing about Roy. Roy is a good friend. Roy and I have been friends since 1970. I am lucky to be able to call him a friend. He's compassionate, he's generous, and he's loyal. Please express my appreciation on behalf of me, Roy Cohen, my friend.
All right, Stevie Fradkin. Put your hands together for Stevie Fradkin. Can you hear me back there? I think they just need to project, right?
Marjorie, I think Roy's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I know, honey. I'm so glad they let you out, though, for tonight. It'll be so much fun.
I gotta be home pretty soon.
Okay.
I still have to pay.
There is a God. You have to be home soon. Steve Franken reminded me of something, though, that some of you may recall, that I had a radio show. A couple of you came over and said, "Oh, my God, my mother loved you." So, I was so popular with those who are now in their 90s. But Roy actually used to call from Aruba. That's how we got his email name. I don't know, for those of you that may have listened, and he would say, "This is Roy from Aruba. I vacation in Stoughton," and you became a regular caller.
Traffic and weather report.
Traffic and weather report from downtown
Rajasthan.
Rajasthan?
Rajasthan.
Rajasthan?
Yes.
Okay, good. So our next roaster, I bet you've all met Dr. Mallock, because he's the owner of the Lloyd Animal Hospital in Stoughton. I've been there a gazillion times. So's my husband. My husband's here, by the way. My better half, Chris Spinazzola. Put your hands together for Chris Spinazzola. Chris used to say that his favorite person in the world was Pat Whitley, who was my partner on WRKO. We had a show called Clapprood and Whitley, and I was the lefty, liberal, bra-burning feminist pinko, unapologetic, and he was the right-wing conservative pig. So, and I say that with deep affection. But Chris then and today loves Pat Whitley, because he said by the time she got home after arguing with you for 5.5 hours on the air every morning, she was a pussycat, right? So he took it all. But please help me welcome Dr. Arthur Mallock, who could not wait to be invited to the microphone.
Thank you, Marjorie. Can you all hear me okay?
No?
Now, Marjorie Clapprood, what an illustrious career she's had in talk radio. She served in the Massachusetts legislature. It is certainly an honor and a privilege to have Marjorie with us tonight. In fact, she told me so herself. Marjorie Clapprood, who once said there's absolutely no place for nepotism in the state of Massachusetts unless it's to help a family member.
Okay, so we're roasting Roy Cohen tonight.
We'll get to Roy. We'll get to Roy.
Yeah, okay.
I was speaking to Chris Marjorie's husband beforehand, and he was lamenting about how much money Marjorie tends to spend. It turns out she's a spendthrift. I had no idea. He told me that about a year ago, Marjorie's purse was stolen. He waited 6 months to cancel her credit cards. The thief was spending less than she was. Roy, how you doing? You look terrible.
You're doing wonderful.
I first want to recognize some of my fellow roasters tonight. There's Jeff Pickett from SMAC, Stoughton Media Access Corporation. And Jeff and I feel somewhat out of place tonight. I think we're the only two men on the dais who are less than, like, age 80. Roy, have you been able to hear some of the jokes tonight? When I found out that Roy works part-time as chauffeuring as he works for a livery service, driving for a livery service. And I found that surprising because, frankly, I didn't realize you could still drive at night. Al Gerson's here. Al, raise your hand, be recognized. Al, you look good. You look rejuvenated. You look youthful. Well, then again, sitting next to Roy Cohen, anyone's going to look young? Roy, it is good to be here. When I was first asked to participate several months ago, I initially declined. And a couple of weeks later, I happened to bump into Carol Cohen, Roy's wife, and she asked me why I didn't want to do it. I said, well, you know, being a roast, I just don't feel comfortable insulting Roy. She said, well, you should hear what he says about you. Now, I first met Roy 31 years ago. I'm a veterinarian, as Marjorie told you. He came to my animal hospital 31 years ago. Now, he didn't have a pet. He just couldn't afford to see an MD. But I remained his veterinarian for the next 20 years until he qualified for Medicare, at which point he now has a physician. And he gets great medical care also. I don't know if you know this, but over the past year he was hospitalized. And I called up the hospital one day to get an update on Roy. And the staff member told me that earlier that day, Roy took a turn for the nurse. Well, you know, I mentioned that Roy didn't have a pet. That's actually not true. He eventually got a pet. He was going to adopt a dog, and before doing so, he asked me my thoughts on it. I said, well, what kind of dog is it? He said, well, I think it's like half German Shepherd, half Great Dane, and half St. Bernard. I said, Roy, that's impossible. That's 1.5. That's impossible. He said, well, it's a really big dog. Now, Roy hosts a show on cable TV, Community Forum, on local cable. He hosts the show weekly. Some would say very weekly. Now, he's been hosting that show for many years, but there's talk around the station that the show might get canceled due to low ratings. 1 week, his show drew a -2 in the Nielsen ratings. Now, for those of you who don't understand how the Nielsens work and what a -2 means, a rating of a -2 means not only was nobody watching, but 2 people purposely smashed their remotes rather than even take the chance. Roy and I are members of the same synagogue, Ahava Torah in Stoughton, and the membership committee has come up with a new way to attract new members. They tell any prospective new member that Roy Cohen is a congregant at some other synagogue. Now, of course, no tribute to Roy would be complete without mention of his service to the town of Stoughton as a member of the Board of Selectmen. Roy's been described as the most conscientious, most hardworking, most trustworthy individual to serve on the Stoughton Board of Selectmen in 30 years. And I agree with that. But don't read too much into that, Roy. Some would argue that's a lot like being called the smartest Kardashian. But I must say, I do miss Roy on the Board of Selectmen. One thing about Roy Cohen, Roy was never afraid to state his position on any issue confronting the town, no matter how controversial it might be. You're going to at least know where he stood, and I respected that. One year they were discussing extending the commuter rail to Providence. Roy went on the record stating that transportation was one of the best ways to get from one place to another. I will say that I am pleased to be able to call Roy my friend. I would say that I'd be lucky if one day I had just 3 friends like Roy Cohen. I'd be very lucky, because right now I got about 10. Thank you and good night.
Dr. Mallock. That was so okay.
Marjorie,
Yes.
Roy's a pain in the ass.
You know, I think I'm just going to have to bring up our strange wandering guest. You guys, I think, all know his real name. Norm Katz is a regular everything. Norm Katz, he's everywhere. He's like you know what on you know what. I mean, he's just everywhere. If you read him on Facebook, you can't avoid him. And he also has been a member of the Board of Selectmen in Sharon. So he was sort of like Roy's counterpart forever and ever. And since Cindy first called me 6 months ago and asked me to MC this, he's just been a pain in the ass himself. Just, I want to do this. I want to roast. I need to be there. I'm going to come. But he didn't tell me that he was going to wear a toilet around his neck, which I think is very interesting, don't you? Please put it together for Mr. Norm Katz, one of a kind. Come on, honey.
Wait,
You can do this.
I have to pee.
Oh, don't do that.
No, I have to be back at the home. And I just love you. Don't worry about it. Wait a minute, look here. Oh,
Security.
you know, how many years were you selectman?
Not as much as you.
Bet your ever-loving ass. 32 years in the wonderful town of Stoughton.
Sharon.
He thinks he is. I was 32 years in the wonderful town of Sharon. We never make the newspaper like you guys do. Is that correct, Marge? She's the best. He's full of and my wife told me to watch my mouth. So I'm going to wash it.
No.
And then I'm going to tell you what you know, it's like a woman, Roy. You know, she goes into the butcher shop down the street there, and she picks up her chicken. She says, I'd like a good chicken. So she lifts it up, and she's smelling the chicken front, back, to either side, top, bottom, and she says to the guy, to the butcher, this chicken stinks. He says, lady, can you pass such a test? And it's like the other poor little Jewish guy, he's on an airline, and sitting right next to him is a big Arab guy. All of a sudden, the Jewish guy throws up all over the Arab guy. He says, oh, what am I gonna do? Well, he says, well, just keep my mouth shut. The Arab guy wakes up, and the little Jewish man says, are you feeling any better? What do you do in the case? How do you roast an ass like this? Should I talk louder? Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I can talk louder, but it's okay. My hair is too tight, and I really have to pee, Sharon. And my wife told me to behave myself because this may be televised, and there's children in the room. They don't hear the in high school, right? Or the first grade. And they don't pick their nose and go like this either. I do it. And they don't have pimples on their ass, but I do. I've known this guy since last year. And it's all right. He tries to be a good selectman. I go back to the years of Charlie Atanis, who was a selectman. He was like horse shit. His son is here, never saw him. Not interested in his son. You know, never saw him before. But those were the good days when I had my own hair. You know, this is better now. You know, the town of Sharon sits right next to the town of Stoughton. And since I'm out of office now, I can say whatever I want. We never called the town of Stoughton because we didn't know which police officer was going to come or who was in trouble. We always called Canton, Walpole, and Easton, and Norwood. Now, let me tell you one of the funny times in Sharon when we had, of blessed memory, Chief Horan. Remember Al Horan? Somebody found a dead body off of Route 95, right on the Sharon-Norwood line. We were going to call the town of Stoughton because you don't call the town that it may be at. So we took a look and we called the Public Works from the town of Sharon to come down and see exactly where the line was. Now this poor bastard is as dead as a doornail. So Horan and a few other Jewish cops reached over and grabbed him and schlepped him through the grass over to Norwood side. And then we called Joe Curran, who was the chief in Norwood. And said, Joe, the body's on your side. You got a bigger budget. You know, that's what you call being neighborly. We were never neighborly to the town of Stoughton because you never know who was going to beat the out of you. We were three wonderful people. We never made the press. I was the only one who represented Donald Dump, and I'm sorry. What was this? Donald Trump? Yeah, up his. And all of a sudden, this runs for selectman. So I'm sitting in my office on Central Street in the town of Stoughton. Don't worry. Sitting in the town of Stoughton, I says, oh, Cohen is running. That's all we need. I didn't vote in Stoughton. You are lucky. But when shove comes to push, you know, I thought of wearing a toilet seat. And I have done public speaking for many years. And would you believe it? I was in the White House the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I'm 80 years young on this side, and I have some wonderful memories. And as you go through life, you meet some people that mean something to you. I can insult him from morning till night, but day after day after day. There are several good human beings in this world who are compassionate, caring, understanding, lovable. Marge. This guy knows who he is. Don't let him bull. Just don't let him. He's a good human being, and I love him. He's the best. Come here, honey. Don't get in the fight. And I'm going to pee now.
Thank you, Norm. Let's hear it for Norm. Yay. So we need a story. So did I ever tell you the story about when Carol, where is Carol? Where are you, beautiful? Carol, who should win the award because she's been married to Roy for 413 years. But so Carol goes to the doctor one day, and she comes home. Roy is all agog because he needs to know everything. So he says, so honey, how did it go with the doctor? And she said, well, I actually had to go to Dr. Mallock for the same reasons that you do all the time. But he said to me, you know what, Carol? You look fantastic. You have the legs of a 20-year-old stud. And Roy says, oh, isn't that interesting? Does the doctor have anything else to say? She says, yes, as a matter of fact. He said that my vision is perfect and that I've got the eyesight of an 18-year-old. Roy goes, oh, isn't that nice? Yeah. Anything else? And she said, yes. As a matter of fact, he said, all things considered, that I had the facade and the physique of a woman half my age. And by this time, Roy's getting annoyed. And he said, by the way, did he happen to mention your big fat Jewish ass? And she said, no, honey, your name never came up. So, with that, we're back to the roast, and I'm delighted to introduce these next two guys. They're very, very cool guys. They get a lot of things done. You already heard about the team. So they're from SMAC. They produce, direct, make everything happen for Roy's show. They've got not only a lot of creativity, they've got some stories to share with us about Roy behind the scenes. They're working together tonight. Got a little bit up their sleeves, I'm told, so please put your hands together for the dynamic duo, Michael Hammond and Jeffrey Pickett. Sorry. I don't want you to get electrocuted, though.
Clean up aisle 3.
I know. From my days in high school at Target. Here you go. Thanks, David.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is going to air on SMAC, but it might be a while because we're going to have to comb through the entire video for everything that Norm said that was offensive. So it might be a while.
So how about another round of applause for the Chamber for hosting this event tonight? And I know it's already been said, but another round of applause for Cindy Pizarro. Without her, tonight would not be possible.
It's actually up for debate whether Roy caused her to go into the hospital, but we won't say anything about that.
Ooh, Mike, that joke just bombed worse than Roy's run for state rep.
Oh, true.
It's great to be here tonight at the roast of Roy Cohen. I was hoping that Selectman Bob Cohen would be here tonight so that I could give you a lesson about our tribe's last names, because many people in the town of Stoughton don't seem to grasp that those are two different last names. You have Roy Cohen, and notice that there's an E in that last name, and then you have Bob Cohen, no E, like the shape.
Or like the ice cream at Daddy's Dairy.
Shh.
You love Daddy's Dairy.
I do. In case you didn't know, I'm their customer of the year. But
Are they chamber members, Jeff?
No. Although they do have delicious ice cream.
They do. Speaking of the chamber, don't forget Mark and Terry.
That's right. So as you guys all know, there's Mark Snyder and Terry Schneider. Those are two different last names too. Mark Snyder is like the pretzels that you would buy in the grocery store.
Right, and Terry Schneider is the guy who goes into the grocery store and tries to get the pretzels for free. You know, Roy isn't that great with names either. Do you remember that show when he looked David Spanky Souza right in the eye and said, "I'd like to welcome to the show, David Young."
I do remember that. Speaking of Spanky, have you heard of any good political jokes lately?
I can't recall.
Wait. I did hear one. So in an effort to reach out to Spanky's voters, allegedly, in my opinion, I've been told that Christine Howe is referring to herself as Darla now.
Little our rascals, our gang joke.
I get we're bombing here too.
Yeah, they can't all be winners, Jeff.
So this is a great roast so far. It has gone exactly like every taping of Community Forum. Roy hands off all the tasks and enjoys a bagel while everyone else whitewashes his fence.
Oh, I get it. Like Tom Sawyer. Yeah.
Exactly. Right, Leo?
He can't hear you.
Put your headphones on, Leo.
Headphones. Put your headphones on. Marjorie mentioned Carol's legs earlier, and who else do you think of when you think of nice legs? Like Tina Turner, Jennifer Lopez?
Shermetbro.
Yeah, Sherm has nice legs. But I think Roy would agree the nicest legs that we ever see at SMAC are Mary McGuire from AAA. She is.
So watching Community Forum, speaking of that great show all of these years, has taught me to awkwardly pause in the middle of a show to make announcements. So in that spirit,
community show times here in Stoughton on Comcast 9 and Verizon 28. Monday at 8, Tuesdays at...
Mike, I have to interrupt. You know what makes absolutely no sense, Roy? Is how you tell everybody when your show is on in the middle of your show. Roy, they're already watching the show. They know when your show is on. They found it.
Yeah, bingo.
Monday night, 6:30 at a Havatorah congregation in Stoughton. Come for the high of your life.
And don't forget to come to Roy's Roast on November 4th at 7 p.m., where you'll be treated to the song stylings of Political Asylum.
Which, not to interrupt again, but I'm really looking forward to hearing them. That reminds me, though, it's such an appropriate name, Political Asylum, because I've heard from our viewers, whenever Political Asylum is on Smack, they seek asylum on another channel.
Of course, we can't forget that signature moment that everyone waits for on Community Forum.
The crew would like to thank
Maxie.
sanitary napkins.
Leftover from Roy's days at Kimberly Clark. I think I hear your phone buzzing, Jeff.
Looks like I have a text.
What does it say?
It's Peter Brown. He said we're an embarrassment to Smack,
Oh, we should probably resign.
at least until Monday morning.
Thank you.
All right. In all seriousness, with the division that's going on among Stoughton residents, it's nice to see everyone come together tonight and honor a great man like Roy Cohen.
Yep. We value Roy's dedication and how he strives to put on a quality show.
Roy is a vital part of our Smack family, and we can't wait to share a bagel with him next Thursday.
All right. Oh, gosh, thank you guys so much. I don't get all the jokes about the sanitary napkins. What is that? Is anybody getting any of these jokes? No? Good, thank you. I just wanted validation. It's just go, boom, whatever. Okay, that'll be cut out. Cut that one out too. So, but Smack is such an important part of the town, but more importantly for tonight, our honoree. So he wanted his own slot, and Roy has written here, who do I see there lurking around the corner with this trusty camera, busily digging up material for the annual blooper reels? It must be, yay, Dave Young!
Thank you. How you doing, Roy?
First time I've seen you dressed
I know.
nicely.
This is the first time and last time.
Oh, boy.
How you feeling?
Feeling great
Yeah?
so
Okay.
far.
So far. Well, Roy. Remember the first time we met, Roy? Down in Easton? You regret that day? You should. Well, one thing with Community Forum, which is very unique, and why it brought on what we call bloopers, was when Roy would get up there and promote, he'd get Joe Feaster and others to go up there, that it seems that all I have to do is simply show my face, look at them, and I get bloopers. So Roy, you're very easy to give bloopers. So that and all the other guys. But I did something special for you. Because the worst thing you did was you told me about yourself. So I did something very special just for you in this video.
Okay. Hi folks, Dave Young. We all know why we're here. And let me start by saying nothing says lovin' like a Cohen in the oven. So let's flame broil that sucker. Hi, Roy. I heard that. All right. So we're here to roast Roy. So a few things about Roy. Let's see. I wrote some things down. And of course, this is public access, so we have to use what we have, and this is about as good as we can do for Roy. So yeah, it's a joke, public access. Anyway, so let's get back down. All right. I knew Roy in the early days, and we knew when Roy was directing because we would hear, help, help, somebody help me. so we knew when Roy was directing. But Roy's productions got better. And we knew it got better because it only got better when Roy was asleep. The only time we had problems is when Roy was awake. So, but I've known Roy for years. He's got some good qualities somewhere. But, don't get me wrong, Roy is probably a nice guy. I just can't think of anything nice to say about him. But, hey, Roy, how you doing over there? It's just going to get worse. So, but Roy's not a bad egg. Yeah, this is a crummy egg joke. He's just cracked and a little hard-boiled. Yeah, I know. It sucked, but hey, what do you want for free? But anyway, I'm sure that you're enjoying a nice dinner. And Roy, what do you serve in the crowd? Bagels from Maxie's? Yeah. So, but, okay, here's a good one. Okay. Roy is an unforgettable character. Now, what I need everybody to do is on 3 say, how unforgettable. So, 1, 2, 3. How unforgettable. I don't know. I forgot. And yeah, this is all bad, but you get what you pay for, and it's free. So just bear with me. But Roy is good for one thing. And that one thing happens to be bloopers. So that's our boy Roy. So, but anyway, I hope you're having a good time, Roy. And I just wanted to say and let everybody know that I want to thank you for everything you've done for Stoughton Media Access and the community. And it's an honor and a privilege to know you. So, happy trails, buddy. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a great night.
Have the company with the, oh man. Oh. Here we go. I don't know what's going on. Looks nice. Very good job.
Thank you.
Which, oh gosh. I saw you on TV.
Right.
Ooh. Joe, I don't like you.
Question, how do we get that implemented in the society that exists here? There's the pecking order of how decisions are made. We sit off here and you say, hey, Joe, you're a political guy. Yes, I am. And so we have the pecking order of how decisions.
My name is Roy Cohen. I am the producer and director of Community Forum, which is a locally produced show seen here on Comcast, Channel 9 and 28. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday nights. And it's a show that's been produced for, oh man.
Today we have a great victory. The dictator Roy Cohen is in permanent exile.
Listen to her.
Hey, Roy.
Yeah, Mr. Cohen to you.
Okay, Roy.
I'm waiting for a response from the director. She's what? That bad? Look at that. How's that? Let me kiss you in the ear.
Lap, get up there!
Why is that?
Huh?
Why is it screwed up like that? Oh, wait, this way.
I hope you're getting this, Dave.
God, no.
Should we,
You're not recording this, I
Of course he is. Of course he is.
No.
Of course he is. You should know better than that. He's beautiful.
We're right.
No love. No love.
I'm just afraid of what Joe Feaster will say. We have with us the chairman of the Stoughton Board of Selectmen, Dave Young. They'll bring you to the rubber room at the Happy Farm. Well, the fact that Smack is here is enough to enhance the value.
And when you come off, we're putting a billboard up with Roy Cohen going, come on down, come on down.
Come on down. Yeah, one of those electronic ones, a live one.
Happy trails to you till we meet again. Happy trails to you.
Very nice.
You're a good man, Roy Cohen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, let's hear it for Dave Young. That was great. That was great. That was great. Just like your show, Roy, your show was great. Yeah, okay, good. So our next roaster is a new friend of mine, but someone that you've known forever and ever, I guess, because Roy said the only introduction that he wanted was that he is Roy's dearest friend, so the rest of us are off the hook, which is really good. And he wanted to go after all the other roasters up here had gone. So please put your hands together for Al Gerson.
Thank you very much. This little something here for Roy took about an hour to write and 3 weeks to clean up. He said this had to be G-rated, but G is close to X. Anyway, there's a little poem that I think you'll all be familiar with. And here it goes. 'Twas the week before bingo, and in the front hall, Roy Cohen asked me if I could please call. He told me he'd teach me all about bingo. He'd show me the method and tell me the lingo. He flitted and flustered, was running amok. I knew in a moment that this was a schmuck. His hair is all gray, with a gut like a barrel. Can you see that bouncing on his poor wife, Carol? The calling went smoothly, except for one glitch. I was yelled at and booed by some overweight witch. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Roy didn't defend me. He didn't have guts. In fact, I determined he's also a putz. But Roy and the bingo gave me new life. A sweetheart named Bevy, who tempered my strife. She's lovely, intelligent, and oh so divine, and loves when I call under 069. The bingo is over and the people do leave. Roy winds up the wires. At last I can breathe. The night was not easy. It brought Roy some pain. But true to his calling, he'll do it again. Roy drives a new limo. It's shiny and sleek. He drives it long hours, at least 5 days a week. He drives through New England, but mostly in Mass. His passengers suffer. Roy cuts so much gas. So shoving a finger up into his nose, he complains his old buddy just points to his toes. Old age is ravaging. We all know that's true. But Roy is a fighter. He always makes do. I wish Roy long life with all of my might, and to you health and happiness, and to all a good night. Now, on a more serious note, I feel this way. If a man's wealth can be measured by the quality of his friends, then the friendship of Roy Cohen has made me a multimillionaire. Thank you.
Oh, no. Well, that is so sweet.
No time, no time.
No, wow. He told me he was going to be really dirty and awful, and he was just adorable.
I have a tear in my eye.
You have a tear in your eye, yeah. Put your hands together. That was really a lovely sort of tribute. Okay, so in order to give the introduction of our guest of honor, I called my psychic, Sarah, who really is a big fan of Roy's, and she can see into the future. And she said, here's the deal. Here's what's 40, 50 years in Roy's future. She said, he's going to be in a car with Donald Trump and Kevin Spacey. And as fate would have it, they're going over what used to be the big dig, and they go straight over. Car goes down. Next thing you know, they're up at the pearly gates. The three of them. And they're all together, nervous. And all of a sudden they hear this booming voice overhead. And the booming voice says, Donald Trump, follow me. And the voice leads Trump down this long, dark, winding, wavy, cold, horrible hallway down to what seems to be the very center of the universe. And there is this dark, dank dungeon. And the doors open, and the voice from overhead says, Donald Trump, look. And there, on a bed, is the most unattractive woman he's ever seen in his entire life, Kellyanne Conway. And the voice from overhead says, Mr. Trump, for all the miserable, lousy, horrible things you've done during your lifetime, your destiny is to spend eternity with this woman. And with that, the doors clang shut. Now you go back upstairs, and it's Roy and Kevin Spacey. And they've been hearing all of this going on. You know, they have that inter-circuit TV and the smack stuff up in heaven, too. So they've been watching, and they've been saying, so this is not good. So now the voice from overhead says, Kevin Spacey, follow me. And the voice leads Kevin down an even longer, darker, danker, horrible, horrible corridor to the bowels of the universe. And there's this dark, dank, really horrible dungeon. And the doors swing open. And now Kevin's nervous, and he looks, and there on the bed in Kevin's dungeon is Harvey Weinstein. And he looks up, and the big booming voice says, well, Kevin Spacey, for all the rotten, miserable, despicable things you did during your lifetime, your destiny is to spend eternity with this man. And with that, they clang shut. Now, poor Roy, he's upstairs, right? He's listening, he's watching. And now it's his turn. And the voice from overhead says, Roy Cohen, follow me. And he goes through the longest, darkest, really most wet, disgusting, cobblestone, horrible tunnel, on and on till he gets down to the most horrific, dank dungeon, despicable, disgusting, all those other D words that you can imagine. And the doors swing open, and Roy looks up, scared to death what he's going to see. And what he sees is a beautiful white silk sheet on a beautiful white satin bed. And they're laying in the middle in a gorgeous white lace peignoir with a white boudoir thing around her neck is Marilyn Monroe. And the voice from overhead says, Marilyn, for all the miserable, horrific things Your destiny is eternity with Roy Cohen. Give it up for our guest of honor, Mr. Roy Cohen. All right.
My turn?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You gonna come up?
Yes.
Put your hands together for our guest of honor.
Take your book. Face me.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing him with us.
Oh, really? Anytime, huh? Well, hello, everybody. You've heard from my hand-picked roasters, who you now know are full of you-know-what. When they all agreed to participate, they knew that I had the last word, Norm. I sent out my team of spies and came up with the following gems. You ready?
I'm ready, yeah. Born ready.
One winter morning, while listening to WRKO, Chris and his wife Marjorie heard the announcer say, "We're going to have 4 to 6 inches of snow today. You must park your car on the even number side of the street so the snowplow can get through." Chris's wife Marjorie goes out and moves her car. A week later, while they're eating breakfast, the same radio announcer says, "We're expecting 6 to 8 inches of snow today. You must park your car on the odd number side of the street so the snowplow can get through." Chris's wife Marjorie goes out to move her car again. And the next week, the same thing happened again. They're having breakfast again when the same radio announcer says, we're expecting 8 to 10 inches of snow today. You must park, and then there was a power failure. Couldn't get the rest of that story. The electric power goes out. Marjorie was very upset, and with a worried look on her face, she says, "Honey, I don't know what to do. Which side of the street do I need to park on so the plow can go through?" With the love and understanding in his voice, like all men who are married to blondes exhibit, Chris said, "Why don't you just leave it in the garage this time?" I heard that Jeff Pickett was sitting at the bar. Where's Jeff? They're over there, okay. Sitting at the bar, staring at his drink when a large, troublemaking biker steps up next to him, grabs his drink, and gulps it down in one swig. "Well, what you gonna do about it?" he says menacingly as Jeff burst into tears. "Come on, man," the biker said. "I didn't think you'd cry. I can't stand to see a man crying." "This was the worst day of my life," he said. "I'm a complete failure. I was late to a meeting, and my boss," where's my boss? Over there. "My boss fired me. And when I went to the parking lot, I found my car had been stolen, and I don't have any insurance. I left my wallet in the cab I took home, and when I found my old lady in the bed with the gardener, and then my dog bit me. So I came to this bar to work up the courage to put an end to it all. I bought a drink, I dropped a capsule in it, and sit here watching the poison dissolve. And then you jackass, show up and drink the whole thing. But enough about me. How's your day going?" Here's the one I've been waiting for all night. Norm Katz, and his wife, both in their 80s. Right so far? Are both having problems remembering things. They decide to go to the doctor for a checkup, and the doctor tells them that they're physically okay, but they might want to start writing things down to help them remember. Does this sound familiar? Later that night, while watching TV, Norm gets up from his chair. His wife asks, "Where are you going, honey?" "To the kitchen," he replies. "Would you get me a bowl of ice cream?" "Sure." "Don't you think you should write it down so you can remember it?" she asks. "No, I can remember it." "Well, I'd like to have some strawberries on top, too." "You better write it down because I know you'll forget it." He says, "I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream with strawberries."
Bless you.
Who sneezed? Bless you, Ellen. I'd also like whipped cream. I'm certain you'll forget that, so you better write it down, she retorts. Irritated, Norm says, I don't need to write it down. I can remember it. Leave me alone. Ice cream with strawberries and whipped cream. I got it, for goodness sakes. And then he grumbles into the kitchen. After about 20 minutes, Norm returned from the kitchen and hands his wife a plate of bacon and eggs. She stared at the plate for a moment and said, "Where's my toast?"
That's funny.
What's supposed to be? Beverly, where's Beverly? Beverly, out there, the one that Al talked nicely about. She came home to find Alvin in the kitchen, shaking frantically with what looked like a wire running from his waist towards the electric kettle. Intending to jolt him away from the deadly current, she whacked him with a handy plaque of wood by the back door, breaking his arm in 2 places. Until that moment, he had been happily listening to his Walkman. Doctor, you still here? Medically speaking, Dr. Arthur spoke about 3 elderly women who were talking about their troubles. 60 is the worst age to be, sadly. You always feel like you have to pee. And most of all, nothing happens. Ah, that's nothing, said the 70-year-old Maxine. When you're 70, you don't have a bowel movement anymore. You take laxatives, eat bran, you sit on the toilet all day, and nothing happens. Gilda, the 80-year-old, 80 is the worst age of all. Do you have trouble peeing, asked Ruth. No, I pee every morning at 6 o'clock. I pee like a racehorse. No problems at all. Do you have problems with your bowel movements? Maxine questioned. No, I have one every morning at 6:30. Gilda responded, puzzled with this. Ruth said, let's get this straight. You pee every morning at 6 o'clock and poop every morning at 6:30, so what's so tough about being 80? I don't wake up till 7. Where's Mike Hammond? What, do you go home? Oh, you're back there. You're next. Mike Hammond, a handsome, handsome man, walked into a sports bar around 9:58 p.m. He sat down next to this blonde at the bar, stared up at the TV. The 10 o'clock news was on. The news crew was covering a story of a man on a ledge of a large building preparing to jump. The blonde looked at Michael and said, do you think he'll jump? Michael says, you know what, I bet he will. The blonde replied, well, I bet he won't. Michael placed $30 at the bar and said, you're on. This sound familiar? Just as the blonde placed her money on the bar, the guy did a swan dive off the building, falling to his death. The blonde was very upset and handed her $30 to Mike, saying, fair's fair, here's your money. Michael replied, I can't take your money. I saw this earlier on the 5 o'clock news and I knew he would jump. The blonde replies, I did too, but I didn't think he'd do it again.
That's pretty good, Roy. You're doing good.
Dave Young, the guy you don't want to ever do anything that you don't want to see caught on the blooper reel. He's dangerous. Dave has a friend. He's an Iraqi terrorist. His name is Kai Ra-Nahajet. He didn't pay enough postage on a letter bomb that he had sent out. It came back with the return to sender stamped on it. Forgetting it was a bomb, he opened it and was blown to bits. No? No, forget that one.
Yeah, not so good.
And finally,
Thank God.
there's a message there. I don't care. I have the microphone. And finally, Steve Fratkin, a.k.a. the Wizard of Ads, has an answering machine with some of the most unique messages. He had so many that he changes them daily. Am I right, Sharon? Oh, yeah. Thank you. She knew what to say. Hi, One of the answers is, hi, this is Steve. If you're the phone company, I already sent the money. If you're my parents, please send money. If you're my financial institution, you didn't lend me enough money. If you are my friends, you owe me money. If you are a female, don't worry, I have plenty of money. Another message, hi, I'm not home right now, but my answering machine is, so can you talk to it instead? Hi, I'm Steve's answering machine. What are you? Hello, if you leave a message, I'll call you soon. If you leave a sexy message, I'll call you sooner. There's a good one at the end. Hello, you're talking to a machine. I'm capable of receiving messages. My owners do not need double glazing and their carpets are clean. They give to charity through their office and do not need their picture taken. If you're still with me, leave your name and number and they'll get back to you. This is not an answering machine. This is a telepathic thought recording device. After the tone, think about your name, think about your number, and think about your reason for calling, and then I'll think about returning your call. This one I like. Hi, Steve, this sounds familiar, I'll bet. I'm probably home. I'm just avoiding someone I don't like. Leave a message, and if I don't call you back, it's you. I'm on the last page. Hi, this is Steve. I'm sorry that I can't answer the phone right now. Leave a message and then wait by your phone until I call back. Please leave a message. However, you have the right to remain silent. Everything you say will be recorded and used by us. Last two. My wife and I can't come to the phone right now, but if you leave your name and number, we'll get back to you as soon as we're finished.
That's cute.
And then I have, as they used to say, I have in my hand the last one. Hello, you've reached Hello, you've reached Steve and Sharon. We can't pick up the phone right now because we're doing something we really enjoy. Sharon likes doing it up and down, and I like doing it left to right, slowly. So leave a message, and when we're done brushing our teeth, we'll get back to you. May I say that I really was anticipating terror tonight. And it wasn't too bad. I really appreciate you all coming and hope you enjoyed it and that you're going to enjoy the rest of the program, which is something we've been working on for about 3 months. It's been a tough year, I can tell you that, for those of you who know me. But we're making it back. We're fighting back and we're getting there. So that's it. And buy some raffle tickets and then we're going to set up and play some tunes for you. Thank you.
Roy Cohen, isn't he the best? Yay. Yay, who's got a picture? That's right.
Thank you.
So I just have 2 more things to say before we hope that you will come help us finish all the food, come over to the bar, have a drink, enjoy yourself, buy a couple of raffle tickets and all of that. And the first is just to say what you're all thinking. And every now and again, it's really, really nice to see so many people show up on a Saturday night in one room to honor or somehow pay their respects to one person who's made a difference in their life. And we've all been kidding tonight and having a good time. But Roy Cohen just is that odd, sort of unusual guy when you first meet him. You say, what a nice guy. You know, you go home, you say, oh, what a nice guy. And then you get to know him, and over time, and I bet every single one of you in this room can remember something about Roy that makes you very, very proud to have him as a friend, as a member of the family. What?
He's saying no.
Oh, he's saying no. He's kidding, though. He's one of those guys, and I wanted to end with this so that, Roy, you would know how we all really, truly feel. He's not just someone great in the community. He gives so much of his time to charity, to the town, to children, to programs, raising money. He always is a curmudgeon about it. He makes you think he's always grouchy and grumpy about it. But at the end of the day, he's doing it because he's got this very special, huge heart. And I'm looking over at his family and I'm saying, thank you again for sharing him with us. And to everybody here, we all join with you because more than anything, Roy, you are just a very, very good man. You're a good man and someone I'm so proud to call my friend, and they are all too. I love you so much. Terry Schneider, who is such a doll, who is the executive director for the Chamber of Commerce, is just going to come up and wrap it up tonight with what's coming up next for the Chamber, what you want to have tonight be, and then we're all going to party, boogie, and shout, right? Thank you. So put your hands together for Terry. He's pulled together 10 of these, I think, right? You have done 10. You were the first one that came back to get honored after it went into the toilet, right?
Yeah. That's,
and then, so you resurrected it. Good for you.
I was the first one to be roasted. It was a surprise roast. I was really surprised because my son actually, who was a major introvert, actually got up and roasted me. And that was scary. I want to thank everybody for coming. First of all, I want to thank Roy for being willing to be made a fool of. But I think he took it well. I think it wasn't too hard. And I appreciate everything that you're doing for the Chamber and folks for buying tickets, raffle tickets for Military Friends Foundation, which we'll be calling in a little bit. And I want to thank all of you, obviously, for showing up and for the roasters that have helped us and for the entertainment that you're about to hear. Also, we're going to very quickly do some more dessert while the band gets set up, and after we have them set up and after you sat back down, we will call the raffle. Okay? Thank you.
Yay. Let's do this. Yep.
Thank you.
Aren't they great? Yay.
That's a warm-up tune. That's something that goes back
Featuring Mr. Roy Cohen.
50 years.
See who remembers this one.
Here's my story. It's sad but true. About a girl that I once knew. She took my love and ran around with every single guy in town. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, should've known it from the very start. This girl will leave me with a broken heart. That's really cool that she ever knew. But keep away from run around Sue. But she the touch of her hands, this girl's one embrace. So if you don't want to cry like I do, keep away from run around Sue. She likes to travel around, but she loves the end she puts you down. She won't let me put you around.
What happened? What happened?
Sue goes out with other guys. There's a moral of the story from the guy who knows. I fell in love and my love still grows. So if you don't want to cry like I do, keep away from Runner Sue. She likes to travel around, and she loves you and she puts you down. People let me put you wise. Sue goes out with other guys. It's a moral of the story of the guy who knows. I fell in love and my love still grows. So if you don't want to cry like I do, but keep away from Runner Sue. Thank you.
Dion Cohen.
Okay, so this is one of Roy's favorites. We need your help on this one. It's one of the few songs where the girl gets the lead and the guys do the backup. La 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 la. Sort of like you're nagging in a school car. You want to try it once?
Do you think they can do that?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. La 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 la.
They're not singing along. We want you all to sing along the background part because we need the help. We need all the help we can get.
Here's the thing. If you don't do it, they're just going to keep asking you. So let's just do it one time. 1, 2, 3. La 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 la.
That's better.
I think that does it. Well, let's do it this time with feeling, boys.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
La 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 la.
La 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 la. When you left me all alone, I surrendered. I told me you would go back for a story. You were gone. Why? After you came back, man oh man. Listen what you stick on your collar, ponytail on you, lipstick on your collar, said you were untrue, and your lover, you're not untrue, put lipstick on your collar, ponytail on you, go. Dance.
the hop, oh baby. Let's go to the hop, oh baby. Let's go to the hop. Come on, let's go to the hop. We can swing it, we can hop. We're talking the schools and the schools to the hop. All the captains and the hop. Let's go to the hop. Let's go to the hop. Oh, baby. Let's go to the hop. Oh, baby. Let's go to the hop. Come on. Let's go to the hop. Everybody get up and dance. Let's go to the hop. Let's go to the hop. Let's go to the hop. Come on. Let's go to the hop. Give it to me.
Running out of steam. Oh yeah, at this age. We're in the last quarter of life.
You buds, they're just having a good time.
What's that?
Anytime you're ready, Roy.
Well, all I want is to party out. Come along to me when I'm feeling wild. To be ever loved and true and fair. To run her fingers through my hair. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. And I'll make love to you, I'll make love to you. Well, I saw a gal walking down the street, the kind of gal that I want to be. She had blonde hair and eyes of blue. Baby, I want to have a party with you. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. And I'll make love to you, I'll make love to you. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. And I'll make love to you, I'll make love to you. Every man has got to have a party doll to be with him when he's feeling wild. To be ever loving, true and fair. To run her fingers through his hair. To run her fingers through his hair. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. And I'll make love to you, I'll make love to you. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. And I'll make love to you, I'll make love to you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. One more. Ooh.
everyone.
You're all welcome to dance if you like.
And I do hope you love it. He's got everything a girl could want.
of the night, in the still of the night, in the still of the
world. I'll come to see you, Dr. He's a great statesman. Give it up for Mr. Max Whiting. You see the best? I'm gonna take you to the left, baby. Right behind me, I'm watching him. Our buddy who got us out of all kinds of legal scraps over 30 years. A great attorney and an amazing friend. Give it up for Stevie Hilbert! Woo-hoo! And the shy retiring keyboard, rhythm, vocals, does all of our giggling. That's himself, Mr. Steve Brackett! And of course, you know, on guitar, on vocals, he's really our band leader. He's the one that forces us to get together in the garage and elsewhere. He's the man tonight, Roy Cohen!
And of course, the lady who used to be just about everything.
Well, I'm nothing now, what?
No, you used to be you used to be a radio star. You used to be Mrs. Clapprood.
Yeah. I'm kind of gonna be bonus, but
Ladies and
now I'm
gentlemen,
very
Marjorie Clapprood.